The signal commander Alara Voss stood at the viewport of the UN Intrepid, watching as the stars streaked by in brilliant ribbons of light. 6 months into their deep space exploration mission, they had ventured farther from Earth than any military vessel before them. The Intrepid wasn't the largest ship in Earth's fleet, but it was one of the fastest and most advanced, a perfect vessel for charting the unknown reaches beyond the Coalition's borders. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen called from the communication station, "I'm picking up something unusual." Voss turned, her dark eyes narrowing with interest. "Define unusual, Lieutenant." Chen's fingers moved rapidly across his console. "It's a signal, ma'am. Repeating pattern, definitely artificial, but it doesn't match any known Coalition or Earth protocols. Origin? Beyond the Arcturus reach, approximately 3 light days from our position." This caught Voss's full attention. The Arcturus reach was the current boundary of explored space. Beyond it lay only mystery and potentially danger. Earth had encountered 7 alien civilizations in the century since achieving faster-than-light travel. 3 had become allies in the Coalition. 2 remained neutral but cordial. 2 others had proven hostile. "Put it on the speakers," Voss ordered. A strange sequence of tones filled the bridge, high, low, pulsing, then silence before repeating. There was something oddly familiar about the pattern, though Voss couldn't immediately place it. "Is that an SOS?" asked Commander Riker, her XO, who had joined her at the communications station. Chen shook his head. "Not exactly, but the pattern structure is remarkably similar to old Earth distress protocols. 333 pattern with variations in tone rather than length." "Convergent evolution of communication systems?" suggested Dr. Ibarra, the ship's xenobiologist, who had been quietly working at her station. "Or someone who studied Earth's history," Voss frowned. "Either way, it's a distress call. How long would it take us to reach the source?" "At maximum safe FTL, approximately 16 hours, answered the navigation officer. Riker stepped closer to Voss, lowering his voice. "Commander, protocol for unidentified signals beyond Coalition space requires that we report to command and await instructions. This could be a trap." Voss understood his concern. The Siren War had begun with a false distress call that lured 3 Earth ships into an ambush, but this felt different somehow. "I'm aware of protocol, Commander," she replied, "but I'm also aware that someone might be dying while we wait for bureaucrats to make a decision." She gestured to the stars beyond the viewport. "We were sent out, here to explore, to make contact, to represent humanity. What kind of representatives would we be if we ignored a cry for help?" Riker nodded, a slight smile forming on his weathered face. "I was hoping you'd say that." Voss turned to address the bridge crew. "Set course for the signal's origin, maximum safe speed. Lieutenant Chen, send a message to Coalition Command informing them of our decision and the signal data. Request any available support to rendezvous at these coordinates." "Aye, Commander," came the chorus of responses. As the Intrepid altered course, Voss returned to the viewport. Whatever they found at the source of that signal, she was certain of one thing. Humans had never turned their backs on a call for help, not even from the stars themselves. Across the void, beyond the reach of human sensors, a desperate battle was unfolding. The Zelani refugee fleet, nearly 300 vessels of varying sizes, struggled to maintain formation as they fled through an unknown star system. Originally a peaceful confederation of 3 species from neighboring worlds, the Zelani had been forced to evacuate their home planets when the Kral Dominion had arrived. The Kral, aggressive expansionists with technology centuries ahead of the Zelani, had declared the resource-rich Zelani worlds as acquisition targets and begun forcibly removing the native populations. Billions had died in the initial assault. The survivors, nearly 40 million souls, had fled in hastily converted civilian ships. For the past standard year, they had been running, seeking asylum in the territories of the more powerful galactic nations. But the influence of the Kral stretched far, and none would risk war by sheltering the Zelani. On the command deck of the Zelani Central Coordination Vessel, First Speaker Talara watched the tactical display with growing despair. The pursuing Kral hunter-killer ships had caught up with them again, picking off the slower vessels at the fleet's edges. The distress signal, she asked her communications officer. Is it still transmitting? Yes, first speaker. On all frequencies, in all known formats. Talara's secondary breathing membranes fluttered in agitation. And still no response? None. She hadn't expected any. This region was uncharted, far from the established territories of any civilization powerful enough to stand against the Kral. But she had insisted they try anyway. The Zilani had nowhere else to run. First speaker, her tactical officer called urgently. 3 more hunter-killers have appeared from behind the 4th planet. They're moving to cut off our escape route. Talara closed her inner eyelids momentarily, a gesture of resignation among her people. Order the civilian ships to form behind. Our remaining defenders, we'll make our stand here. First speaker, the communications officer interrupted, eyes wide. We're receiving a response to our distress call. Talara's head snapped up. From whom? The Arcadian Union? The Jinta Kingdom? Neither. The signal. It's in a language I've never seen, but the translation matrix is processing it now. Text appeared on the main screen, translated into the standard Zilani script. This is the UN Intrepid of the United Earth Navy. We have received your distress signal and are en route to your position. Estimated arrival, 14 hours. Please, respond with nature of emergency and any immediate threats. Stand by for assistance. A stunned silence fell over the command deck. Then the tactical officer spoke, voice trembling. Earth, and that's a Class 12 death world. Deathworlders, Talara whispered. Here, the Deathworlds were the stuff of legend among spacefaring civilizations, planets with extreme gravity, lethal atmospheres, aggressive ecosystems, and unpredictable climate systems. The beings that evolved on such worlds were equally extreme, stronger, faster, more durable than most sentient species, with aggressive tendencies and shockingly resilient biology. Most civilized species gave Deathworlders a wide berth. Their unpredictability made them dangerous, their aggressiveness made them feared. But in this moment, with the Kral closing in and her people facing extinction, Talara felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Hope. Send them our coordinates and situation report, she ordered, and pray to the eternal currents that they arrive in time. Back on the Intrepid, Commander Voss had ordered battle stations. The signal had been answered by a desperate civilization called the Zilani, fleeing from something called the Kral Dominion. Their message had been brief but clear. 40 million refugees under attack, heavy casualties, defensive capabilities failing. Voss had immediately ordered maximum FTL speed, cutting their arrival time to 12 hours. She'd also received confirmation that her message to Coalition Command had been received. 3 additional Earth vessels had been dispatched to their coordinates, though they were days away. Commander, said Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, her tactical officer. I've completed the analysis of the Zilani message. Based on the limited data they sent, we're looking at approximately 300 civilian vessels of varying classes, protected by perhaps 30 combat-capable ships, though these appear to be converted civilian crafts with minimal weaponry. And the hostiles? At least 15 dedicated warships technologically superior to the Zilani defenders. Voss nodded grimly. What about the Zilani themselves? Any data on their biology, capabilities? Dr. Abara stepped forward. They've shared basic biological parameters to help us identify friendlies. 3 distinct species in their confederation, all oxygen breathers but with various adaptations, all evolved on standard gravity worlds with moderate climates. None have exhibited significant resistance to physical trauma or environmental stressors. In other words, Riker said, not Deathworlders. No, Abara agreed. By comparison to humans, they'd be classified as vulnerable. Our standard gravity would crush them. Our atmospheric oxygen content would be intoxicating. Our pathogens would overwhelm them. Voss considered this information. So we're flying into a conflict between a refugee fleet of non-Deathworlders and technologically superior aggressors. Odds against us? Rodriguez grimaced. If the Kral technology is as advanced as the Zilani claim, significant. We're a single vessel, Commander. A single Earth vessel, Voss corrected him, a steel edge entering her voice. Designed to operate alone in unknown space against unknown threats. She turned to face her senior officers. The Zilani have been running for a year. They've lost billions of their people. No one has helped them because everyone fears the Kral. Well, Earth doesn't know the Kral yet, and the Kral don't know Earth. Her dark eyes flashed. Let's make sure they're first. Impression is memorable. Prepare all combat systems. We go in hot. First contact. The Intrepid dropped out of FTL at the edge of the star system, sensors immediately sweeping the space ahead. The scene that greeted them was grimly familiar to any human with a knowledge of history. A refugee fleet under attack, civilian vessels packed beyond capacity, desperate defenders making their last stand. Full sensor sweep, Voss ordered. I want detailed scans of those Kral vessels. 15 Kral warships confirmed, Rodriguez reported. Energy signatures suggest advanced plasma weaponry and particle shielding. They're concentrating fire on the Zilani defensive screen. Communications open a channel to the Zilani command vessel, then prepare a separate transmission to the Kral fleet. On the main view screen, the alien face of first speaker Talara appeared. Her features were vaguely amphibian with smooth pale blue skin, large multifaceted eyes and gill-like structures at her neck. Her expression, even across the gulf of species, was unmistakably one of desperate hope. This is Commander Alara, boss of the United Earth Navy vessel Intrepid. We've come in response to your distress call. Commander Voss, Talara replied, her voice translated through the ship's AI. You cannot imagine our gratitude, but I must warn you, the Kral Dominion is not to be underestimated. Their technology far exceeds our own. A single vessel even, from Earth may not be sufficient. Voss nodded. We understand the risks, First Speaker. Earth doesn't abandon those in need. Can your remaining ships jump to FTL if we create an opening? Most can, yes, but we have nowhere to go. The Kral control all nearby systems and no other power will grant us asylum. We'll worry about that once we've dealt with your immediate problem. Stand by. Voss signaled for the channel to be switched. Now open communications with the Kral fleet. The view screen changed to show a strikingly different alien. The Kral commander had chitinous gray-green skin, 4 red compound eyes, and mandible-like structures framing a mouth filled with jagged teeth. His uniform was ornate, decorated with what appeared to be trophies or badges of rank. This is Fleet Commander Sarkesh of the Kral Dominion Acquisition Force, the alien said, his translated voice harsh and clipped. Identify yourself and state your purpose for interfering in Dominion matters. Voss stood tall, her expression neutral but resolute. I am Commander Alara Voss of the United Earth Navy vessel Intrepid. You are attacking a civilian refugee fleet that has requested our assistance. The Earth Coalition recognizes their right to flee persecution and their status as a protected class under galactic law. The Kral commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Earth? A death world? Your reputation precedes you, human, but this is not your concern. The Zilani violated our territorial claims and refused to surrender resources rightfully claimed by the Dominion. Their punishment is our affair. Their punishment appears to be genocide, Voss replied, coolly, and that makes it everyone's concern. I am ordering you to cease fire on civilian vessels and withdraw from this system immediately. Sarkesh's compound eyes seemed to gleam. You are a single vessel, Commander. Powerful, perhaps, by the standards of lesser worlds, but the Dominion has conquered species far more advanced than yours. This is your only warning. Depart now, or be destroyed with the Zilani. Voss's expression didn't change. I understand. Thank you for your time, Commander Sarkesh. She signaled for the transmission to end, then turned to her tactical officer. Target their lead vessel. Energy weapons only, full power. Let's see how advanced their shields really are. Rodriguez grinned. Targeting solutions ready, Commander. Fire. The Intrepid's main cannons unleashed brilliant streams of concentrated energy. The beams struck the Kral command ship momentarily, lighting up its shields, before punching through them and carving deep gouges in the vessel's hull. "Direct hit," Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Their shields failed after 3 seconds of sustained fire. Hull breaches on decks 5 through 9. Their weapon systems are offline. On the view screen, the damaged Kral vessel was pulling back, secondary explosions visible along its flank. The other Kral ships were breaking off their attack on the Zilani, turning to face this new threat. "They're responding exactly as expected," Voss noted. "Tactical, switch to defensive posture, shields at maximum, let them come to us." The Kral ships moved with surprising speed, surrounding the Intrepid and firing simultaneously. The human vessel shuddered under the assault, but its advanced shields held. "Shield efficiency at 82% and holding," reported the defensive systems officer. "Their weapons are powerful but predictable. The computer is adapting our shield harmonics to counter their attack patterns." Voss nodded. "Good. Now, show them what an Earth vessel can do. Execute maneuver Theta 6. The Intrepid suddenly accelerated, at speeds that would have crushed any non-Deathworlder crew, cutting through the Kral formation with pinpoint precision. As it passed each enemy vessel, it fired precise bursts from its secondary weapons, targeting engines, weapons arrays, and sensor nodes. 3 Kral vessels disabled, Rodriguez reported. The others are attempting to regroup. "Send the encrypted tactical data to the Zilani defenders," Voss ordered. "Show them where to hit." The remaining Zilani combat vessels, seeing the Intrepid's success, rallied. Following the targeting data provided by the Earth ship, they focused their fire on the weak points the Intrepid had identified in the Kral shields. 2 more Kral ships went dark, their systems overloaded. The others began to pull back, clearly reassessing the situation. "They're retreating to the outer system," Rodriguez confirmed. "Regrouping, most likely." "Let them go," Voss said. "Our priority is the Zilani fleet." "Open a channel to first speaker, Talara." The Zilani leader appeared on screen again, her expression now one of shock and awe. "Commander Voss, that was... I have no words. You disabled 5 Kral warships in minutes. Our finest ships couldn't penetrate their shields after months of encounters." "Different technologies, different approaches," Voss replied modestly. "But the Kral will return, likely with reinforcements. We need to get your people to safety. As I said before, we have nowhere to go. We've been denied sanctuary throughout this sector." Voss smiled. "Then we'll need to look beyond this sector. I've received confirmation that 3 additional Earth vessels are en route to our position. Together we can escort your fleet to Coalition space. Earth will grant your people temporary asylum while we negotiate a permanent solution." Talara's large eyes widened even further. "You would do this? Risk war with the Kral Dominion for a people you've just met?" "It's what we do," Voss said simply. "Now, I'd like to come aboard your vessel to discuss the details of our evacuation plan. With your permission?" "Of course, Commander. Though I should warn you, our environment may be uncomfortable for a Deathworlder." Voss's smile widened. "Don't worry about me, first speaker. Humans are surprisingly adaptable." Hours later, Voss stood in the Zilani command center, towering over the aliens around her. The gravity was lighter than Earth standard, the atmosphere more humid but breathable. The Zilani technicians watched her with a mixture of fear and fascination, particularly when she casually moved pieces of equipment that would have required 3 of their strongest individuals to lift. "The Kral will return within 12 hours, Talara was saying, pointing to the strategic display. "They maintain a significant presence in this sector. Your ship is formidable, Commander, but against their full fleet, we won't be facing them alone," Voss assured her. "The UN Valiant, Dauntless, and Defiant will arrive within 18 hours. They're battle cruisers, significantly larger and more powerful than the Intrepid. Even so, the Kral numbers aren't everything," Voss interrupted gently. "First speaker, there's something you should understand about humans. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. Surviving on Earth meant adapting. Innovating, never giving up, she gestured to the stars visible through the command center's viewport. When we reached for the stars, we carried that same determination with us. We've faced extinction-level threats 3 times in our history. Each time, we not only survived, we emerged stronger. Talara studied the human commander closely. The Kral have conquered 17 star systems. Their technology is centuries ahead of yours. Perhaps, Voss acknowledged. But technology isn't everything either. The Kral fight for conquest. Humans fight for survival, ours and others. That makes us dangerous in ways that can't be measured by sensors or strategic computers. Her expression softened. Trust me. First speaker, your people have run long enough. It's time to stand with those who will stand for you. Talara was silent for a long moment, then nodded. I believe you, Commander Voss, and I am grateful. Across the void, aboard his damaged flagship, Fleet Commander Sarkesh raged at his subordinates. One ship, one primitive Deathworld vessel disabled 5 of our finest warships. His second-in-command bobbed his head in submission. Their weapons. Technology was unexpected, Commander. Their targeting systems identified weaknesses in our shield harmonics that should have been impossible to detect so quickly. Deathworlders, Sarkesh hissed. Always unpredictable, always dangerous. But this changes nothing. We cannot allow the Zelani to escape, not with the human recording our humiliation. The Dominion's reputation would suffer. The reinforcement fleet will arrive in 10 hours, his tactical officer reported. 25 vessels, including 3 dreadnoughts. The humans and Zelani will be overwhelmed. Sarkesh's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Excellent. Prepare. A full strategic assault plan. I want that human vessel disabled and captured. Their technology must be studied. As for the Zelani, no survivors this time. The response 10 hours later, the Kral reinforcement fleet arrived exactly as predicted. 25 warships, including 3 massive dreadnoughts, dropped out of FTL in perfect formation, their weapon systems immediately powering up. But when their sensors swept the system, confusion spread through the Kral command. The Zelani refugee fleet had changed formation. Rather than the disorganized mass they had been before, the civilian vessels were now arranged in a protected inner sphere, surrounded by their remaining defensive ships in precise, interlocking positions. The Earth vessel Intrepid held position at what appeared to be the command point of the formation. More puzzling to the Kral, the entire Zelani fleet was moving steadily toward the system's edge, as if planning a coordinated FTL jump, something the disorganized refugees had never managed before. The humans have reorganized them, Sarkesh observed. Impressive but futile. They cannot hope to outrun our fleet, and that single Earth vessel, while surprisingly powerful, cannot stand against our combined firepower. Commander, his sensor officer called, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures at the system's edge. Specify. Unknown, sir. Similar to FTL entry points, but the patterns are different from any we've encountered. Sarkesh's compound eyes narrowed. Magnify viewer. Full sensor sweep of those coordinates. The main screen shifted to show empty space at the system's edge. But as they watched, the fabric of space itself seemed to ripple and tear. Not 1 or 2 tiers, as would be expected from ships dropping out of FTL, but dozens, appearing simultaneously, in a perfect geometric pattern. What is this? Sarkesh demanded. His question was answered moments later as ships began emerging from the spatial distortions. Not the 3 additional Earth vessels they had expected, but an entire battle fleet, 17 warships in total, ranging from fast attack frigates to massive battleships that dwarfed even the Kral dreadnoughts. Each bore the same markings as the Intrepid, and each moved with the same precise coordination into a defensive screen between the Kral fleet and the Zelani refugees. Impossible, Sarkesh whispered. How could they respond in such numbers so quickly? The nearest Earth colony is hundreds of light years away. The communication system activated, and Commander Voss's face appeared on the screen. But she was no longer aboard the Intrepid. She stood on the bridge of the largest human vessel, her expression calm but resolute. Fleet Commander Sarkesh, I see you've brought reinforcements. As have we. Allow me to introduce Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Navy 4th Fleet. She's eager to continue our discussion about the Zilani refugees. The view widened to show an older human female with steel-gray hair and eyes that reflected decades of command. "Fleet Commander," Admiral Chen said, her voice carrying the unmistakable tone of authority. "I understand you've had an introduction to Earth's perspective on refugee protection. Commander Voss can be quite persuasive, I'm told." Sarkesh struggled to maintain his composure. "Admiral Chen, this display of force is unexpected. But the Kral Dominion does not respond to intimidation. The Zilani are criminals under our jurisdiction." "Interesting perspective," Chen replied. "We have a different view. We see 40 million civilians fleeing genocide. Under the Coalition Humanitarian Charter, that makes them protected persons. Earth has granted them temporary asylum while their case is reviewed by the Galactic Council. The Council will not interfere in Dominion affairs. Perhaps not previously," Chen agreed, "but they will when presented with evidence of mass displacement and targeted civilian extermination. Evidence we've been collecting since the Intrepid's arrival. Evidence that is already being transmitted to every major power in the galaxy." She leaned forward slightly. "The Kral Dominion may be powerful, Commander, but are you prepared to face the combined response of multiple civilizations once this evidence becomes widely known? Are you prepared to face Earth directly?" Sarkesh's tactical officer approached, speaking urgently in their native language. "Commander, analysis of the human fleet indicates weapon systems far more advanced than our intelligence suggested. Their shield configurations are unlike anything in our database, and their vessels are designed to operate in environments that would destroy our ships." Sarkesh clicked his mandibles in frustration. "Deathworlders. Everything about them defied conventional analysis. Their ships, like their bodies, were built to withstand conditions that would kill most sentient species. Their weapons, like their instincts, were honed by evolutionary pressures beyond imagining. And now they had brought an entire fleet in defense of aliens they had just met. It made no logical sense unless one understood the underlying psychology of Deathworld species. They formed bonds quickly and defended their allies with irrational ferocity. "What are your intentions, Admiral?" he finally asked. "The Zilani fleet will depart this system under our protection," Chen stated firmly. "They will be escorted to Coalition space where they will be settled on appropriate worlds. The Coalition further expects the Kral Dominion to recognize the sovereignty of all remaining Zilani territories and to cease all hostile actions against their people. And if we refuse?" Chen's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes hardened. "Then you'll learn firsthand why Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, and why those who evolve on such worlds make formidable enemies." The silence that followed was broken only by the soft beeping of consoles on both bridges. Finally, Sarkesh spoke. "The Dominion will withdraw its forces from this system to allow for diplomatic considerations, but this matter is not settled, Admiral." Chen nodded. "Agreed, it's just beginning. Safe journey, Commander." The transmission ended and Sarkesh turned to his second-in-command. "Order the fleet to pull back to Dominion space, then send a priority message to the High Command. We need a complete reassessment of our intelligence on Earth and its capabilities." "You're not going to challenge them?" his second asked, surprised. Sarkesh's mandibles clicked slowly. "Not today. The Dominion has existed for 3,000 years, by knowing when to strike and when to wait. The humans have revealed themselves as a significant power, one we did not properly understand. We will withdraw, we will study, and we will prepare. The Zilani are not worth a war we are not certain to win." As the Kral fleet began its retreat, cheers erupted throughout the Zilani vessels. First Speaker Talara, standing beside Admiral Chen on the bridge of the UEN flagship Resolute, watched in disbelief as their longtime persecutors simply left. "I never thought I would see this day," she said quietly. "For a year, we've run. For a year, we've watched our people die. And now you're under Earth's protection," Admiral Chen finished for her. "And believe me, First Speaker, that means something in this galaxy." "But why?" Talara asked, turning to face the human admiral. Why would Earth commit such resources to a people you've never met? The Krall are powerful. You've made an enemy today. Chen smiled slightly. Commander Voss tells me she explained something of humanity's history to you, how our world shaped us. She did. She said you evolved fighting for survival. That's true, but there's something she might not have emphasized enough. Humans don't just fight well, we cooperate. We build communities, we protect our own. Chen gestured to the star field visible through the viewport. And out here, among the stars, everyone struggling to survive is our own. Talara's breathing membranes fluttered with emotion. Admiral Chen, I don't know how the Zilani can ever repay this debt. There is no debt, Chen replied firmly. Only an opportunity for two peoples to learn from each other. The coalition was founded on the principle that diverse species working together create something greater than the sum of their parts. The Zilani, with their unique perspectives and abilities, will make us stronger, just as we make you stronger. She extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Now shall we discuss the future of the Zilani Confederation as members of the Earth Coalition? As Talara carefully took the human's hand, marveling at its strength and the 5 fingers, that could seemingly build or destroy with equal facility, she reflected on the strange turn of fate that had brought them here. The Zilani had sent a desperate call into the void, hoping against hope that someone would answer. Instead of just someone, they had found the humans, a species that didn't simply rescue those in need. They brought their fleet, and they changed the rules of the game entirely. Across the galaxy, the story would spread, of how a refugee fleet on the edge of extinction had been saved not by diplomacy or appeals to conscience, but by the sudden arrival of ships from a distant death world. Of how the mighty Krall Dominion had for the first time in centuries backed down from a confrontation, and most importantly, of how the humans had made one thing abundantly clear. In this vast and often hostile universe, there were still those who would answer when the galaxy called for help.